Hey leaders, thanks so much for checking out our video for week 2 of our sermon series called Crew. And I think we had a great discussion last week from the students that were on stage that we got to hear from their life experience about their friends and their crew, about how they've influenced them. And then this week we're diving into the conversation about how do we seek out wise advice? Can your crew actually give you wise advice, or do you need something else or someone else in your life as well? So we're going to have that conversation, but the big idea is pay attention to who you listen to. And so that's the bottom line for this Sunday. But we all have a story where a friend has talked us into something, or you talk them into something, but it wasn't exactly a wise choice. And it wasn't because they were a bad person or because they were looking to hurt you or make you look stupid. It's just for whatever reason, a moment when bad advice leads to a bad outcome, and that happens in our friendships sometimes. See, sometimes this happens and it makes for a great story, but other times it can happen and you end up asking yourself, what was I thinking? Why did I listen to them? And those aren't bad questions. But in fact, I think there's a better question that we can ask that we're going to this Sunday. Who should we be listening to instead? When we listen to poor advice or bad advice or incomplete advice and things crumble, it's more of a who question than a why did I listen to them question. Now, have you ever asked yourself, if you ever have to make a life decision, a big life decision, who would you go to for advice? My guess is that a lot of us would probably ask a friend or somebody from our crew. A lot of teenagers do that. They text the people on their list that they talk to all the time, and your friends probably do want the best for you, but they aren't always going to be the best people to help you make life decisions. Why? Because being a great friend doesn't always mean you can give great advice. And you're trying to figure out life, so are your friends. And when it comes to the big questions and decisions in life, just because someone laughs at your jokes or likes the same kind of music we do doesn't necessarily make them the best candidate to find answers. So if we can't get important advice from our friends all the time, the people we trust more than anyone, who should we be talking to and listening to? Now, in this series, we've been talking about some great advice the Bible offers when it comes to your friends. And about halfway through the Bible, there's a book called Proverbs. And these proverbs are little one-liners usually that can help you navigate life, and they're written from an older person to a younger person. And they have a lot to say about friendship, and included with all this wisdom is direction on how to get the very best advice we can. So check out what the verse says for this week. It's Proverbs chapter 12:15. It says, "The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice." Now, you probably know that there are a lot of confusing things in the Bible, but one of the things I love about Proverbs is how straightforward it is. The writer doesn't say, if you're wise, you don't need advice, because that's foolish. He says, if you're wise, you understand that you don't know it all. We need somebody to speak into our lives. And this is a big deal for some of our teenagers right now, because there are people that are trying to give them advice. And some of those people are you as their small group leaders and their parents and their teachers. There are people in our students' lives that are trying to give them advice and who actually want to see their situation more clearly. And so the big idea is pay attention who you're listening to for our students. See, advice from their crew is great, but it may not be the best advice they can get, because their friends are good for encouraging us and being there for us and listening to us and having our backs, but they haven't seen enough or lived long enough to see the bigger picture in life. When it comes to advice, we need someone who's standing outside of the situation to help us see what we can't see. We need someone who's further down the road in life, who has been there and will tell us the truth. We need a mentor. Now, mentor is a fancy sounding word that we throw around in the church world a lot, but it just means a wise, trusted friend who gives you wisdom. A mentor is usually someone older than you who you have invited into your life because you know you can't go at it alone. Now, there are a ton of reasons to have a mentor that you could go to for good advice, but here are two things that I think make the whole idea of listening to someone a little bit older than you and seeking out wise advice a little bit more worth it. The first thing is somebody that's a mentor, somebody that's a little bit older than you that can give you good advice. They know what you don't know. And that's not meant to be offensive, it's just true. You should have somebody in your life who's older than you, who's been there and done that, and that's the power of a mentor. A mentor can challenge you to think in ways that you've never thought of before, simply because they've experienced and lived more life than we have. And the second thing somebody that will give you wise advice can do for you is they'll tell you what others won't. A single piece of wise advice from a mentor can change your life forever. And that sounds dramatic, but it's true, because someone who's older and wiser knows that our decisions become our destinations. We talked about that last week, that your friends influence you, so the decisions you make become your destinations. And your mentor, somebody that's older than you that gives you good advice, they want to take you away from pain and regret. But we have to be willing to listen to their words. The right kind of mentor, a helpful, older, wiser person, will tell you things that are hard to hear, and they will tell you things that your crew won't because they love you and they have experience and knowledge that you and your crew doesn't have quite yet. And so as we head out this Sunday, I want to ask two big questions. Who have you been listening to? And who should you be listening to? See, like we said last week, friendships are some of the most important relationships in your life. Everybody needs a great crew, but if you're going to make wise decisions for your future, we need to pay attention to who we're listening to in the meantime. And you need to find somebody who's already been there who can help you navigate life as well. And so while the idea of having a crew is so important, the idea of finding somebody who's been there that can give you wise advice is just as important. And they are actually somebody that can become a part of your crew and the people that influence your life. So it'll be a great conversation this Sunday. Looking forward to seeing you there. Leaders, we'll see you at 4:45 for our small group leader meeting. Want to run a couple ideas by you for some future churchy stuff. So make sure you're there, but we'll see you Sunday. Have a good week. Bye, guys.